People told me to have the perfect business plan. They said never work with friends. And they said don't go global too early, stay in your own country. And look, I broke all of those rules and I hit $50 million by the time I was 28. And in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how I did it differently and how you can too. You've probably heard the saying, in business and in life, rules are meant to be broken. And that's how I live my life. Every business that I've started, the first rule that I've broken is entering an industry or starting a business in which I don't have experience in. When people hear this, they often think, you can't start a business unless you're an expert in that particular field. But trust me, when we started Future, neither Nick nor I were experts in logistics, but we knew that there was a gap in the market and you learn along the way. It's the same with content. I never went and studied videography, but I started Australia's biggest TikTok agency. And it just came from starting, getting clients and learning. So I think for a lot of people, the first rule that you need to be comfortable breaking is not being an expert in the beginning. You don't have to know everything about an industry or about a service or about a product. Another example is my first successful e-commerce brand was skincare. If someone told me you'd have a skincare company a few years before that, I'd think that they're crazy because I don't know anything about skincare. But after a year of researching and going deep and understanding ingredients and understanding different formulas and going through the rigorous testing that you do when you launch a skincare brand, now I know a little bit about skincare. We built a multi-million-dollar skincare brand. So get out of your head that you need to know everything. You don't. Break the rules, get in there and just be prepared to learn. A founder that plays it safe ends up without a business. It's as simple as that, really. I don't think I've ever played it safe. No risk, no reward. Everything's a risk. What you do get better at, though, with time is risk management and understanding, is this risk worth the reward? Your tolerance to risk, your tolerance to stress, these are all muscles that you can build. And the only way to do that is through experience. It's just taking risks and not being afraid to fail, as long as you learn from them. So, my appetite for risk now as a 29-year-old is very high. Maybe in 5 years or 10 years from now, it won't be as high because I'll have different priorities in life. But right now it's like I could lose it all and I could start again tomorrow and I feel like I'd be back to where I am very, very quickly because of what I've gained through all of this experience that I've had. And I'm telling you, some of the best lessons come from failing, and you fail because you take on risk. It's all part of it. I mean, you're taking risks every day when you're in business. When it comes to hiring people, you're taking a risk that it doesn't work out. When it comes to opening a new location for a business, you risk that that location fails. But there's a few different industries you can look at to better understand risk. I think the first lesson here is if you're someone that's educated and quite logical and thinks things through in your head, sometimes that can be to your detriment because you'll sit there over-analyzing a situation and over-analyzing the risk components of something that you're doing so much that you talk yourself out of actually doing the thing, when behind that risk could be the greatest reward of your life. So never over-analyze. Often you want to get into your gut and really feel out the situation and feel the fear and feel the risk, but do it anyway. If you've got a big dream and you want to achieve something in life, no risk should hold you back. You want to live a life with no regrets. You don't want to get to the end and be like, damn, if only I tried that, and what if that worked out? So 2 industries that I would look at to better understand risk is 1, insurance. Understand how the insurance world works. And this is really about single risk taking, because when you sign up to an insurance policy, they're taking a risk that something goes wrong and they're going to have to pay you out. But it's all about probability with them. What is the probability that this is going to occur? And of course, insurance companies, they make just as much as they pay out. That's how it works. So think like an insurance company. What is the probability of things going bad? How can I mitigate this risk? How can I put things in place early so that even if things don't go well, you safeguard yourself and you don't end up on the streets? So the other industry I'd be looking at is venture capital. So you have these big private equity firms, venture capital firms that are investing in early stage startups. These are businesses with either no revenue at all, but a great idea, or early revenue, but they need money to grow. Now, the way this business model works is they will cut a check and invest in 10 different companies, knowing that 9 out of the 10 are most likely going to fail and they're going to lose all of their money. But one business out of the 10 is going to become a unicorn, and it will pay for everything 10 times over, all of the investment that they made. And that's how venture capital works. Oi! Just talking about risk.
Risk is a lot of it. No risk without reward.
Future represent. I watch so many founders spend months and months trying to create the perfect plan. And while they're strategizing, I'm shipping. This is the big difference. Done is better than perfect. I will die on that hill every single day. Less time planning, more time taking action. There's a lot of founders out there that are actually less capable, less smart than their competitor, but it's because they move with so much speed that they dominate a market, they get market share quicker, and ultimately they become more successful. The real cost is in moving too slow. If you're not moving fast enough, often you're never prepared for these opportunities, because luck, in my opinion, is when preparation meets opportunities. We work extremely quickly to make sure we're prepared for anything. So it's hiring people before we need it, saying yes to things where we don't necessarily know how to do it, but it's like, jump before you know how to fly, that whole idea. As long as you're prepared, when the right opportunity comes along, you can strike because you're moving fast. And that's something that I think everyone should adopt. Backing yourself every single time when you make a decision builds character, whether things go right or wrong. I often just shoot from the hip, and work things out later. Because you have to realize in business, there isn't a right or a wrong decision. It's like you make the decision and then you just make it work. Like, that's kind of it. And that's a way that you can reframe these things. It's never a failure. It's just you made that decision. If your back's up against the wall because things haven't gone as planned, you just make it work. Or things work out really well in your favor and you ride the wave. I think that the number one thing that people need to remove from the equation when they're making high level or high stake decisions is emotion. Emotion clouds judgment. It blurs reality for a lot of people. So if you're feeling things like fear or anxiety, or you're doing something out of spite or anger, this is never a good frame of mind to be in when you're making decisions that could lock you in for an extended period of time. So I would say that if you are feeling emotional, always sleep on things. Give yourself 24 hours, let the emotions pass, and make sure that you're coming from a very clear, neutral, non-biased state of mind and looking at things, logically. Never mix emotion with high-stake decision-making. So another rule that I broke, which a lot of people would advise you against, is working with friends. I essentially work with all of my friends. My business partners are my friends. I employ my friends. If my friends have a service, they're freelancers, I collaborate with them everywhere I can. And honestly, it's made business so much more fun because I actually love the people that I'm working with. The big difference between building with friends versus building with strangers is trust, in my opinion. I think that when you're building with friends, people that there's already this level of trust going into the relationship that you've got each other's backs, you've got each other's best interests. And that helps because you're not in your mind trying to work someone out or, second guessing things. It's like, hey, you trust each other, you know each other well, and you can build business together. I strongly believe that if you can make it work with friends, then there's no better thing in the world than bringing your whole group up with you on this journey and, riding through the lows together, but then also riding through the highs together. There's just no better feeling on the world. It's kind of like, who do you want to be spending your days with? And you can easily just spend it with colleagues that you don't really have a connection with, or you can spend it with people that, you genuinely love and that you've been through so much together. So again, if you can just get the communication part right, and if you can put everything out on the table at the very beginning and clearly define, okay, this is friendship and this is business, then I would strongly recommend working with people that you know and love. There's nothing better. You want to truly grow your business, you need to learn how to delegate. This is so critical, and this rule that early stage founders have in their head is that they need to do everything and they need to be in control of everything for the business to be successful. And that couldn't be further from the truth. This kind of motto that I live by is, if I have to do it more than once, I won't do it at all. And what I mean by that is there's so many things that you're doing day to day as a founder inside the business that are repeatable tasks. Learn how to delegate. This is incredibly important. Ultimately, the long-term goal here is to actually have people that are better than you doing the things. So for example, there was a stage, when I was running my agency that, I was under the belief that, hey, I'm the best person to film, I'm the best person to edit, I'm the best person to deal with clients. And there was probably an element of truth to that, and that's why we were successful early on. But then you fast forward 3 or 4 years down the track, and my account managers are far better than dealing with clients than I am, because that's all they do. 100% of their attention is building great relationships with clients and delivering results. Same with video editors. It's like I used to be in this mindset of just, I'd get frustrated when I'd hand work off to a video editor because I knew I could do it better and faster myself. But then I've invested in a team of 6 editors in the office, and before you know it, they're producing edits far better than I ever could, again, because it's their main focus. So if you've got to do it more than once, don't do it at all. Create processes and find the right people to do those jobs for you. So for those that don't already know, Future is a network of 3PL centers like this one that you can see behind me. We actually have 14 of these around the world, and we store e-commerce brands' products for them. And then they do their marketing, and when they get sales through their Shopify stores, we will pick the products and pack them into boxes or satchels, and then we ship them out with couriers, just like Australia Post. Orders going out, as you can see. Yeah, that's Future. When I think about the moment that we realized that this business was going to be genuinely big, we've had this feeling since day one. And you should too with your business. It's this delusion that you can build something so big and so global, and that delusion turns into reality when you work hard and you bring in the right people. So I think that if you're starting out, don't be afraid to think big and be delusional. And don't let people talk you out of that. That's where it starts. Delusion plus rapid action equals success. Hey, how are you? These slides. Multi-level warehouse. Check this out. So what you can see behind me is a multi-level warehouse. These are mezzanines that we use to basically maximize the space that we can use inside a warehouse. We're maximizing every square inch. So this mezzanine's on about 300 square meters worth of floor space, and we're essentially turning 300 square meters into 900 square meters with the levels. We've got people working on every single level, pick faces and pack stations on every level, these slides to get parcels back down. By turning 300 squares into 900, we're actually maximizing our storage capabilities inside the warehouse, which means cheaper storage for our clients. We can pass those savings on. So you can see the goods get hoisted up and down. We got this safety contraption. Yeah, one of the big learnings for us over the years, especially when you're working with apparel brands that have a lot of SKUs, is just minimizing the amount of movement of stock that happens around the warehouse. So another benefit with these mezzanines is that we can basically just break down pallets of stock straight away on inbound. Typically you have, pallet storage, and then you have pick faces like this. So the slowly moving goods or your bulk inventory are stored on pallets like you can see out there. And then when they're needed, they go into these pick faces. So they're constantly getting replenished. But the problem with this is when there's more movement of stock happening inside of a warehouse, it means there's more opportunity for discrepancies. So with these mezzanines that you can see, we literally have thousands and thousands of pick faces on every level of these mezzanines. It means that as soon as the goods come in, they can be broken down, and then the goods can be put away into these pick faces straight away, ready to be picked. It's faster, more efficient, less room for errors. It was about 3 years into building Future that we decided to take the business international. That initial 3 years was like perfecting the business model. And then as soon as we saw it for what it was, we quickly realized, hey, this could be copied and pasted into a new market. And I would definitely promote the idea of launching a business into new markets, especially if it's an e-commerce brand, very easily to replicate. And that's ultimately how you get like a lot of growth. So, we launched a business into China. In a way, it felt like starting from zero because it's a new culture, cracking into a new market. But we have an amazing business partner over there. And now that the China operation is going on 2 years old, 1.5 years, it's starting to mature and it's starting to grow very, very quickly. So it's like that initial year of setup, and now we're just seeing the compound growth effects happening, and it's taking the business to a whole new level. So I think that, if you've got a business like Future that could be replicated overseas, or if you've got an e-com brand, go global as early as possible. As soon as you've validated the product in one market, then launch in new markets, and it's the quickest way to double your business. Another rule that I've broken is intentionally leaving the business and leaving my team to run the business without me for extended periods of time. And I'll explain the thought process behind this. So when you leave your business, you get to see how the business runs without you. And often all of the cracks start to appear. So you go away, and by the time you get back, you see this system's melted down, this department's not functioning without you. And then it becomes very clear what you should work on, because it's all about building a business that runs without you. Ultimately, that's how you create an asset, something that has value in and of itself. So often people have businesses, and when they stop working, the business stops working. And then you don't have a business, you've just got a job. So creating a business that works on its own means that you actually have an asset that you can one day sell. And to do this, it's just about figuring out how you can build systems and have teams run completely without you. So I'll give you an example. There was a time where I was required to jump on every sales call and sell prospects into our services. This is when I was running my agency a few years ago. So if I stopped working, new clients stopped getting signed, and this was a huge issue. Over time, I built a team and I trained them. And once I was confident that, those closers could take calls without me, I went away. And then what happened is, while I was away, we actually signed more clients, and then I came back and the business had grown because we had onboarded new clients and I had zero input on that. And that was the real light bulb moment. The goal is you go away, and by the time you come back, your business has grown. That's when you know you have built a business that works on its own without your input. So every time you are building and designing a function of your business, you should never be a key input. It should never rely on you to function. The first thing I'm thinking about when we have a challenge or there's clearly a gap in the business that needs to be filled, that is, who is the best person for this? Because it's not me. And that's kind of the mindset you need to have. And then once you identify who, what are they going to be doing every day to achieve the desired outcome that you want? And that usually looks like some kind of process, some kind of SOP. They're often working with people internally or with suppliers or with clients, anything like that. So once you've kind of mapped out all of that, you end up with a bit of an org chart with a bunch of processes in between. And that's kind of like the fundamentals to building a business that operates without you. I would say that the hardest part is going to be about giving up control. So many founders, there's like an ego thing attached to this idea that you're needed for the business to run, and that's nearly like stroking the ego. It makes you feel important, but it's actually one of the most limiting things. My advice would be to find the right people and build the right processes so that you can take time away from the business, get your head clear, see what breaks without you, and then you know what to fix. So if you made it this far in the video, you now understand that a lot of my success has come from breaking the rules. But if I could leave you with one thing, that is that you need to understand that 99% of the population follow the rules that have been set for us. And if you want extraordinary results, then you need to break those rules. Otherwise, you're going to end up in the same basket as the majority of the population. So don't be afraid to take risks and bend reality. Literally, that's what it feels like at times. I would love to hear your thoughts on this video, and if you have questions about anything I've touched on, leave a comment below. I'm going to get back to everyone. Or maybe you're breaking the rules as well and finding success. I'd love to hear about it.